Hi everybody, welcome to Roll and Move Reviews. My name's Kirk, I'm your host, and I'm very excited to be bringing you our premiere episode today. Thanks so much for watching, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. First game I want to talk to you guys about is a very popular one from Greater Than Games, and that is Sentinels of the Multiverse. Sentinels of the Multiverse is a cooperative card game for 1 to 5 players, in which each player is going to take on the role of a superhero, represented by a deck of cards, to do battle against a supervillain, represented by another deck of cards, in a fight that takes place in a specified environment represented by, you guessed it, yet another deck of cards. The one thing I think needs to be said for Sentinels, if nothing else, is that in my opinion it's been a real trendsetter in recent board game history. When I first got into the hobby a while ago, I was really surprised by the lack of superhero-themed games available. I've always been a big fan of superheroes in comics, and to me it just seemed like a natural fit. Superhero-themed games would be fun to play, and you just assume there's a lot of audience crossover there. But other than Fantasy Flight's Marvel Heroes game, which I enjoyed but wasn't really that well received, there just weren't a whole lot of options out there. Obviously times have changed now, and if you go to your local board game store or spend any time on Board Game Geek, you'll see that superheroes are giving things like trains and zombies a run for their money when it comes to popularity of game theme. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Probably not zombies. But still, there are a lot of superhero-themed games out there. And I think Sentinels was one of the first games that really reversed that trend and brought superheroes back in the collective board gaming consciousness. But even if it was one of the first, that doesn't mean much unless it was any good. So let's take a look. Very quickly, guys, we'll take a look at everything you get with the game. Start out with the hero decks. This is Legacy, the team leader. As you can see, each character card is made up to look like a comic book cover, which is pretty neat. Your issue numbers, your hit points. You have an innate power for each hero. And you have their nemesis marker to show who their arch enemy is. If the villain they're fighting has that symbol as well, they do extra damage to each other. Your villains have 2 cards, image and text. Your text card tells you how to set up their deck and how to play it throughout the game. So each villain is different. And then you have an advanced option. If they get too easy or you want more of a challenge. Game effects will make these flip, change up how they come at you, change their strategy, and you have to change yours to keep up. Environment cards will kind of create the world around your battle. This is Megapolis, the Metropolis, lowercase m, where the heroes live. As you can see, there's no character card for these or anything. They just come into play one at a time. And just one more thing the heroes have to deal with. Finally, you have hit point markers and condition modifier tokens. Okay guys, what I've gone ahead and done here is just so I can quickly show you how a game round flows, is set up a game with 2 heroes. In real life, you never want to play with 2 heroes. That's a suicide mission. 3 heroes is your lower limit, 4 is your sweet spot. If you only have 2 players, each of you take control of 2 heroes. That's the best way to play. That being said, in our mock combat here, our villain is Grand Warlord Voss, the would-be intergalactic conqueror, going up against the fearless team leader Legacy and his partner Tempest. They're going to do battle at the Wagner Mars base. Game round starts with the villain turn, works clockwise around to each hero, and ends with the environment turn. Your normal victory condition is to knock out the villain before all the heroes are knocked out, but some villains have a victory or loss condition on their card. Grand Warlord Voss is one of those, and if he ever gets 10 of his minions down at any one time, that represents him overrunning the planet, and he automatically wins. So villain turn is start of turn effects, play a card, end of turn effects. Voss right now has no start of turn effects on any of his cards, so we'll go to play a card. And he brings out the Quark Drive Translocator. This burst here with a number means it's a target that can be attacked and destroyed. The number is its hit points. This card says, first time a minion enters play each turn, play the top card of the villain deck. That's trouble because it'll help Voss get his minions out faster, potentially help him win the game, but also his minions make him harder to hurt. They give him protection. That's really the theme of a lot of these villain decks, is they start out looking manageable and quickly get out of hand. So we play his card, end of turn effects. Both minions on the board have one. This one will do 3 lightning damage to the hero with the most hit points. And this one will do 2 energy to the one with the least. So Tempest has the least. He will take 2. And with 32, Legacy has the most, so he has 3. Damage type only really matters when it's keywords that interact with other cards. Otherwise, damage is done exactly the same no matter the type. So we move on to the hero turn. Each hero starts a game with 4 cards in his hand, and their turns are very simple. play a card, use a power, draw a card. Play, power, draw. Legacy is going to play Bolster Allies to allow each player to draw a card. So as you can see, his deck is based on his leadership and inspiration of the team. Tempest draws his card too. Legacy has no cards down with any powers on them, but he can't play his innate power, which is Galvanized, until the start of next turn. Increase damage dealt by hero targets by 1. That means Tempest is going to get to do extra damage this turn, so we will put this marker on him to keep track of that. Damage dealt plus 1. So that's the end of Legacy's turn. All he has to do left is draw a card, and we move on to Tempest. Tempest on his play phase is going to use Grievous Hailstorm. As you can see, this is an ongoing card, but it has a power on it. So he plays it for his play phase, puts it down in front of him, and on his power phase, he's going to use the power. Tempest deals each non-hero target 2 cold damage. So this is a Grievous Hailstorm. Wind starts to blow, temperature starts to drop, and the hailstones start to fall. Here they come. Legacy says something expiring. That villain's knocked out. Oop, kind of missed. But he's knocked out too. Come over to the translocator. 3 damage to each of those. They're knocked out. There's a dent in the translocator. Now we look at Grand Warlord Voss. He's going to take 3 damage, right? But look closer at his little symbol there. It's a lightning bolt. And we come down to Tempest, and his symbol matches. So these guys obviously have an axe to grind. So on Grand Warlord Voss, it's 2 damage for the Hailstorm, 1 damage for Legacy's Inspiration, and 1 more for the archenemy symbol, because Tempest really wants to hurt him. So that's 4 damage on him. Pretty good attack, but as you can see, if you look closely, he has 90 starting hit points, so they still got a long road to hoe. It's the end of Tempest's turn. He draws his card. We go to the environment turn. Play the top card of the deck, and it has Voss's picture on it. That can't be good. Villainous Weaponry. It's a target that can be attacked and destroyed. It says increase damage dealt by villain targets by 1. So somehow Voss has found tech up in the base that he's using for his advantage, and until the heroes deal with it, it's going to be trouble for them because he's going to be hurting them more. So that's the end of the environment turn. Play will continue from villain to hero to environment until either the villain's knocked out and the heroes win, the heroes are knocked out and the villain wins, or in this specific case, Voss gets his 10 minions down and succeeds in conquering the planet. Okay, what do we think about Sentinels of the Multiverse? Start by talking about the characters and the character design. I know some people take a few points off the game because it's not a licensed property, it's not based on Marvel or DC, and I do agree that those versions of this game would be awesome, but I'm very happy with it and content with the characters that we have. The game does a really good job, and it's really fun the way they try to create a existing comic book world that these characters live in, even though they're original to this game. Through biographies in the rulebook, through flavor text, through the personalities on the card, the more you play, the more you'll get to know the characters. So it's not like they just say, okay, here's a guy in a purple suit who shoots lightning out of his eyes. They give you a lot more than that, and you'll get to know the characters as you play. My favorite thing about the characters is the fact that they hit superhero archetypes without being generic knockoffs of existing characters. So if you play the Power Suit guy, you get a Power Suit experience, but it's not a generic Tony Stark experience. It's fresh and it's unique. Same goes with all the decks. The villains feel very comic book villainish, but aren't just knockoffs and ripoffs of villains you know. The environment decks, to a lesser extent, I mean, Megapolis, they weren't trying too hard to be different there, I think, but they still feel like places you would see comic books take place in. So that's really cool. The decks are all very well designed, and I'm impressed with the hero decks in particular, how the mechanics change from character to character. So if you play the Super Speedster, you're going to get a completely different experience than if you play that Power Suit guy, if you play the Brooding Vigilante, and that's a lot of fun. The same goes for the villain decks. The villain decks really set the table for the game and create the experience each time, so each villain you play is going to give you a different, unique game every time. the environment decks, to a lesser extent, will play a part in the game and make it different for you. So the combinations are pretty endless. It increases exponentially as you add expansions, but even with the base game, you have a ton to work with. Replayability, obviously, through the roof. Might get attached to one hero and want to keep playing him and develop different tactics and strategies for him, or you may just want to play through every hero in the game, try different team combinations, go against different villains. Either way, plenty for you to do. You'll never get bored, never get tired of the game. The gameplay, the game's not Puerto Rico. It's fast and loose, fly by the seat of your pants sometimes. Upside of that, very easy to teach. If you watch those full few minutes of rules explanation I gave you, you know how to play it. Now you can take it out of the box, play, you're ready to go. The box says 13 and up. It's for kids. I know kids at least 2 or 3 years younger than that who play this, who really enjoy that. So but depending on their interest level, you can go younger than that, and the kids will love it. Some people complain about the filliness and the mathiness of the rules that exists in the game, but it doesn't have to detract from it if you don't let it. For example, that card I played for Tempest, Grievous Hellstorm. Remember, it does 2 damage to each villain character. I can very easily pull this out of my hand, play it, and say, okay, 2 damage to each villain. Subtract the damage, move on, and play the whole game that way. It doesn't sound a lot of fun. I'd hate that game, but I can almost guarantee you anybody who complains about the mathiness and the filliness, that's the way they're playing. The way this game is meant to be played is almost as a light role-playing game. Remember when I did play this card, I described what was going on, how it was getting cold, the wind was blowing, I did the sound effects. If you like doing sound effects and want a game that lets you do a lot of them, you're going to want to play this. So you work together to tell that story as the game goes on. And the game wants to tell a story. The cards are designed that way. They're very intuitive. You'll almost never find a card in this game where you look at it and say, I don't know what that means. I don't understand, the ability or the power that this represents or what the character's doing. They all make sense and work together. That's really where this game shines, is in not necessarily in the technical aspect of the rules, but how the cards all interact with each other and how they play together. You're going to be really surprised how many times you're playing this game and you say, wow, if I was reading a comic book right now and this character was in this situation, this is exactly how it would play out in the comic. Because that's how the game is built. That's how these cards are designed to work together. So that's really cool. If you don't like the theme, you're not going to like this game. The theme is welded on. There's no separating them. So if you don't like superheroes, you're not going to like Sentinels in the Multiverse. But come on, who doesn't like superheroes? I mean, if you read comics, or you ever read comics, if you like the Avengers movies, if you liked watching the Batman or the X-Men cartoons when you were a kid, if you're looking forward to Dawn of Justice, you're probably in for a big disappointment there, but you are going to love this game. So if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a huge fan of Sentinels of the Multiverse. I really enjoy it. Like I said at the beginning, there are a ton of superhero games out there right now, but none of them take you into that world and put you in the boots and cape of a superhero and let you get that full experience like Sentinels does. If you've been on the fence of the game because you've heard mixed reviews, but the way I've described it appeals to you and sounds fun, you definitely want to check this out. You are going to love it. Okay, guys, that is Roll and Move Reviews, episode number 1 in the books. I had a great time putting it together. Thank you so much for watching. I plan on doing a lot more, so I hope you're along for the ride. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know how I did and what you'd like to see in future episodes. Before I go, let's talk about our sponsor website, alteregogames.net. Great gaming store website, run by gamers who care about your game night and your gaming experience. They got a ton of great deals, and they will stretch your board gaming budget. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us on Facebook. That's where I hope to really get some fun conversations going about the games we review and other board gaming related topics. And if you'd like to drop me a line personally, email me at rollandmovereviews@gmail.com. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'm your host. My name's Kirk. Thanks so much for watching.